You think you're doing all right. Interest rates are up on the credit card. The variable rate line of credit is costing you more. Your mortgage is costing you more. Fuel's costing you more. I'm not trying to rub salt in the wound. We're living that same reality. And then you get your utility bill and you see, there's got to be a mistake, right? Like, is everybody leaving all the lights on? Did a neighbor plug a generator into our house? Is something why is our power bill so much? Well, so many of you have been asking that question, and we wanted to get the answer from somebody who knows what they're talking about. David Gray has worked as an energy economist. He was trained right here in Alberta at the University of Calgary. He's worked as a load forecaster, a system planner in Northwest Territories, as an analyst for gas and electric rates. He was the executive director of the Utilities Consumer Advocate through the 2000s, and he's worked as a consultant on rates and energy efficiency across North America up until just a couple of years ago when he closed his practice and launched a philanthropic venture, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. But it's a real pleasure to welcome David Gray to the show in studio. Thanks for making time for us.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. This is fantastic.
Were people talking about the environmental impact of power generation and stuff like that in the 90s and into the early 2000s? Has this been on the radar of the big producers? And
well, not only that, Alberta at one point was the world leader in carbon credit exchange. It had a plan and was the first to put in a carbon tax. Right? We had this plan, and it all came together under the Stelmach government that would have been just spot on, would have put us in great shape to continue to produce hydrocarbons while offsetting that with energy efficiency and other types of programs. We had the opportunity to really grab the bull by the horns and be the leader. But in Alberta, if it isn't combustible, it's communism. We have an energy-only electricity market, which means you only pay if you generate. If you don't generate, you don't get any money. So how much money are wind and solar facilities making when they don't generate? It's zero. We don't pay those guys for reliability. We pay them for cheap energy, and it's the cheapest energy we've got. We have wind power in Alberta at under 4 cents a kilowatt hour, locked in for 20 years. That's the cheapest energy we've got. You want the most expensive energy right now, it's those gas-fired plants that, because of their market position, are able to drive the price through the roof using market power. The reason that we have reliability problems isn't renewables, it's because we don't provide enough money in the system for people to build peaking plants. That's been the problem with this market and the Texas market from the beginning. They assumed you would get the same amount of reliability as a regulated system with a $1,000 price cap.
So when's the last time that the government just hit pause for a half a year on a multi-billion-dollar industry?
It's a very stupid thing to do, and I'll tell you why. The reason is you only get to be a flaky government once before everybody readjusts their risk perspective in terms of government regulatory risk. Now, the problem is the NDP did something that was just as silly, both for solar and renewable and then energy efficiency, that they said, oh, hey, we're going to have this program, we're going to pay for it, and it's going to be 2 years away. So everybody that I knew who was in the solar industry, early adopters, early proponents of solar, got put out of business. And then I got put out of business doing industrial energy efficiency for the same reason. The road to hell is paved in good intentions, and I can understand maybe they've had the intention of trying to adjust how these things are going to be fixed in the future, but the biggest problem they have is they're missing the fundamental problem, which is that we have a broken electrical wholesale market, and nothing really good is going to happen in Alberta until we can sort that out. We have an electricity market, and the thing you need to talk about is what measures are you going to put into the electricity market to ensure that prices are stable, that it's reliable, that you have the right type of generation coming on. And all of those are basic economic market functions that will happen if you have the market set up such that it has the right incentives. So the real problem we've got in terms of reliability is we don't pay enough for peak when we have those shortages, and that would fix it in a heartbeat. The reason that the prices are able to go up so high is that in designing it, they came up with this unique system called economic withholding. In most other commodity markets, you have all your trading going on in your forwards markets. So you have a contract that I'm going to supply natural gas to you. I'm going to supply you 10 gigajoules of natural gas in November at such and such a price. We have a contract. I go to the natural gas pipeline and I say, here's my contract. They say, okay, you can transport, and that transaction is completed. When we look at electricity, we don't have any of that. We're trying to make a spot market work like a forward market with various financial jiggery-pokery. And it doesn't work for shit, is the fundamental problem. That we have this system where the normal pricing is that as soon as somebody gets enough market power, which is now TransAlta and Harvest, you can withhold a little bit of supply to drive the price up. So that's what's taken the price from what was about 6 cents a kilowatt hour, 7 cents a kilowatt hour in 2021 to 30 now. You can look up the study from the University of Calgary. Well, it's the RRO is, I think, 32.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's gone up.
That's the regulated rate option?
Yeah. It's gone up 5 times because of economic withholding. Literally, you've given 4 companies the ability to raise the price for a fundamental commodity that affects every other business in the province. Every other business, every other home. Winter is going to be bad again. It's basically whenever we are close to demand and supply being unbalanced. And that can happen for a lot of different reasons. It can happen for plants being out for maintenance. It can happen because a plant breaks and goes offline. Regardless, you end up with a situation where these few companies can game the market. With this particular moratorium, I think it's more of a cruise missile aimed at enviro Barbies like me. But the long and the short of it is that next summer prices should be a little bit more normal. But my expectation is they're not going to be back to where they should be, which is under 10 cents. They'll be still high.
Does the average Albertan get burned because the market is deregulated?
We get burned because our market is stupid. Our market is cornered. The mechanism they decided to use to signal that we need more generation is to let the biggest companies drive the price up via this economic withholding strategy. And you end up getting these very lumpy price adjustments where the price will, go from 6 to 30 for 2 or 3 years and then drop back down.